Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast. Today we are joined by another incredibly inspiring young lady. Miss Rose Martin has come to speak with us today about some of the challenges she's faced during her life. We're going to talk about confidence, we're going to talk about self-belief, we're going to talk about, as we have before, some of the bullying that's faced in the world and how it affects people every single day. We're going to talk about her passion with fitness, her passion with dancing, and we're going to talk about how you can rebuild your life from any situation to really overcome some big challenges. And as always, I'm joined by the inspiring, the fulfilling, the engaging Mr. Richard Moon.
Do you know what, Pete? That was one of the best intros you've given me, I must say.
I'm slowly getting there. It's acknowledgement, brother.
I
appreciate
that.
Rose, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
I feel okay. A little bit nervous.
Fantastic. A little bit nervous?
Okay. Yeah.
That's okay. So you've come to join us today. I mean, Rich and I have been seeing some of your fitness stuff online, and it's a really, really inspiring story. And it wasn't until we started speaking to you and got to know you a little bit better that, like so many other listeners, I'm sure, it's not all been as easy as it looks. You know, you've built yourself up to a really, really sort of confident, beautiful woman now, but it hasn't always been the case.
No.
So today we're going to jump back into a few of those elements and try and dissect it so that people, if they do find themselves in the same position, can know that there is sort of a light at the end of the tunnel.
Great.
So, Rose, let's take you back to where it all first started then. So, school. What was you like at school?
At school, I was always quite introverted. I was always the big achiever. I did have quite a lot of friends, but I was always lacking in confidence.
Okay.
And there was some bullying as well at school, you know, because I've got red hair, I was a bit different. So there was some bullying, but I kind of kept my head down and just kind of got on with it, always achieving. Joined a dance school, that sort of thing. So I was just kind of plodding along.
So you know the whole red hair thing? Because I feel like, and I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, it used to be something that people really got a lot of slack for, and it was really, really randomly weird thing for people to get bullied for the colour of their hair. But
it's crazy.
In the last 10 years, I mean, we'll speak about your challenges, but in the last 10 years, hasn't it been like the rebirth and power of this, like, you know, redheads, ginger people, whatever, taking over the world? You know, you've got some massive, powerful people in politics, but also in, obviously, music, culture and stuff like that. It's become a really powerful, sexy image to have.
Yeah.
But
Ed Sheeran,
Ron Weasley, every single sector, they seem to be absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
But when you were first hit that, when you was a child, and you know people took the mickey out of you for it, how did that make you feel? Because lots of people have been bullied, but it's very different for every single person. Some people lash out, some people fight. I mean, Rich has spoken that he's had people in here that have been here because of bullying.
Yeah.
But how did you deal with it to start with?
I mean, it started from a really young age, and I just didn't really know what to do with it. I just felt really different, and my brother and sister aren't redheads, and I was just always the different one. So it got me down for a long time, and then I think once I got to sort of secondary school, it just made me quite angry and resentful. So I think that's why I kept myself to myself quite a lot. I didn't have many friends until I really started getting into like year 10, year 11 sort of age, when you're 15, 16, and you get a little bit more confidence behind you. But yeah, just always felt very different from everyone else. And
but you were saying you're quite competitive as well. So you had that sort of inner fire still, even though people were pushing you away.
Yeah.
How did that play out? Because obviously, imagine getting bullied. You didn't necessarily want to draw attention to yourself.
No.
But all the drive and passion that we've seen come through you in the last few years and what you've done, that was still there then.
It was still there.
So how did you sort of balance that battle between being the best version of yourself but not wanting to draw attention to yourself?
I think through putting my energy through other things, so really keeping my head down with my studying. I was really into school, even though I was bullied and everything. I was really into my studies. It was really important to me, and I put a lot of time and energy into that, and then also with my dancing as well. So those were kind of my outlets, and then I think just avoiding the sort of people who would do that to me.
Yeah.
Or I'd literally just get angry.
Yeah.
I'd just get frustrated.
I had a similar story myself. I used to play lots and lots of team sports, and I always had that big desire to win.
Yeah.
But I had really bad acne when I was a kid, and I was really, really skinny, which eventually led me to want to put lots of muscle on so people didn't bully me and all that sorts of rubbish. But I was funnily still drawn to team sports because I wanted to be included.
Yeah.
But I wanted to win more than I wanted to be included.
Yes.
So being really competitive and winning didn't make you popular, and it actually just sort of compounded the effect. I remember waiting after practice when I'd had a great practice and I'd won at whatever I was doing, but I didn't leave because other members of the team would be outside waiting to pick me up. So I'd wait like 2-3 hours later and then walk home in the dark when they got bored and not bother waiting for me anymore.
Yeah.
But you went straight into dancing. So how did dancing find its way into your life? Did your dad or your brother or your sister or your mom get you into it?
It was, I mean, growing up, things were always quite difficult. My parents were separated, and
what age did they separate?
I was about 3, 4.
That's young.
Yeah.
I remember I was 10 years old when my mum and dad separated, and that affected me massively.
Yeah.
And my sister was a few years younger than me, and again affected her massively. So it's not easy when mum and dad split up, is it?
No, it's not easy. And we basically moved cities. So my dad's in a different city. But yeah, so things weren't exactly easy, and we weren't the sort of family where we got to do after school activities, and my mum couldn't afford it. And there was me, my brother and my sister, so if one of us did something, the other had to do something, and it was difficult. So once I got to about 14, 15, and I could actually, demand a bit more, I want to do this, I have a passion for this, I've been doing it at school, I want to take it further. And I begged and begged and begged, and my dad eventually said to me, okay, you work an 8-hour shift for me at the weekends, cleaning, cooking, whatever, and I'll pay for some dance lessons.
And how old was that again?
I was like 14, 15.
That's fantastic,
it's
isn't
quite
it?
a good deal, to be fair.
It's great, but you know what? Without getting too much into when people get hired and pay rules and all that sort of stuff, I think that, because I had a similar thing with my dad, and I know Rich has been working since he could probably walk, bless him. That doesn't happen anymore. It's so tough. I've got 3 children, and it's so tough for my younger 2 to get any sort of paid work. They do jobs around the house and stuff like that, but it's very, very different to going into a business and really earning that money for yourself. And it builds a great acknowledgement for being able to work for it, a bit of responsibility, and then it's yours as well, and you have the power to demand it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I imagine from that younger age, you had that parental separation, the bullying sort of pushed into the background of school, and there was probably a lot of drama going on at home. You had siblings as well.
Yeah.
So you were sort of being trained to stay quiet.
Yeah.
But when you were 15, 16, you started demanding, you started saying, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, I
so
need
then you
an
started
outlet.
dancing.
Yeah, yeah. So I started dancing, and even then it everything just seemed quite tough. Everything seemed like a bit of a struggle, because I went to this dance school, and their parents would drive them there in their nice cars, and they'd be waiting outside watching their kid dancing. And
dancing is quite an expensive sport as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it has
really,
a real
really
prestige to it as well, doesn't it? Did you ever
I
see
did.
the film The Greatest Showman?
I thought he was going to say Billy Elliot.
I love that
Billy
show.
Elliot's great as well, but let's go Greatest Showman first. I love that film first and foremost. Let's hit that one. But they have a little moment of it in there where the dad and the mum, although they've reached a real position of sort of affluence, it's where they've come from.
Yeah.
And they're always sort of marked with that, even though you had every right to be there. Rose's parents paid the same submission, everything like that. Yeah. They weren't from the same thing. They weren't arriving in the great car, and all the other girls sort of knew it.
Yes.
But that inner rebel inside you, did that spur you on? Did that make you think, I don't want to do dancing?
No, it did spur me on. I was determined to not let, other things kind of define who I am and what I could do and what I could be. Yeah. But it was even down to, like, I couldn't afford to do all the classes, and they didn't like that. And it was a bit like, you can't pick and choose.
Yeah, it's all or nothing. Are you not dedicated enough? And and as a child, that's so difficult, because you want to say you're dedicated, and then even turning to your parents. I mean, looking back now, do you ever feel for your parents?
I do.
I find it hard saying no to my daughter. She's 6 years old, about anything. Yeah. But when it's certain aspects of either money or simply time. Yeah. Because we've got our own life and projects, and as you have as well. And then when you have children, striking that balance is so tough. Yeah. Did you ever feel that guilt side because your mum and dad were trying to put support and money into it?
I kind of did, and I kind of didn't.
You don't at that age, though.
No,
do you?
you don't
look back
fully.
on and maybe think, Maybe I should have been a bit more appreciative of mum and dad.
Yeah, a bit more mindful. But no, obviously looking back, I do really appreciate what they did.
Yeah.
But obviously at the time it was tough because you felt like the different one. Again, felt like the different one in the group.
Which can be really, really difficult.
So how often was you training then? Were you dancing? Did it become like a 2, 3, 4 time a week thing, or was it just once a week? Or?
It was about 2 times a week. I did about 3 lessons a week. And I would just literally take myself on the bus and just turn off and have my lesson and leave, and that was me.
Which at that age, these things are so common back then, whereas now if you said, my 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old daughter's taking the bus, some people think you're a bad parent. They go, with all those monsters that are on the bus and all the common folk, you're like, it's public transport, it's not the worst thing in the world.
I used to get my bus pass. Yeah. So how far did dancing take you? What sort of level did you get up to, or what sort of experiences did you get from dancing?
Well, with me starting at about 14, 15, I've missed all those years because it was ballet, it was your classical dancing.
Okay.
I've missed all those years of kind of training. They watched me dance and they said, okay, we can put you in a mid-level. So I started at like level 4, which is sort of midway going into an intermediate. And I got up to advanced level. I did all my exams. I did some.
You do exams
shows.
in dancing?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Oh yeah. I've got 3 daughters, and all 3 of them.
I thought you were about to say your dancing exams.
That's different type of dancing. My 3 girls, they all dance.
Yeah.
And it is hard on the parents, I must say, because the shows quite regular, aren't they? And they all need new outfits for every show.
Every dance that you're in.
Yeah. So my oldest is doing like sometimes 6, 7 performances in one show. That's a different outfit for each one. Like and now all 3 of them are doing it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of commitment really from the parents with dancing. Yeah.
So how did you get on with the whole exams thing? Do you thrive off exams, or was it like a pressure cooker for you, or?
It felt pressured in that environment.
Yeah.
Exams at school and with my Spanish at university and that sort of thing, they were fine. But when it came to dancing, I just felt completely out of my depth.
Really?
Yeah, I think because there was the whole element of how expensive it was. So I felt like I had something kind of to owe to my parents to do a good job with it.
Yeah.
And also I knew that I didn't have the right kit either.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite the quality they wanted.
Yeah, you get that, don't you?
Yeah, and then all the girls were there with their mums who were doing all the hair, came there with the suitcases.
You were by yourself?
I was on my own.
Oh,
and
those dance mums.
Those dance
I
mums.
know what you mean with those dance mums.
Did you have any moments where you were just like, I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to like slope off into the corner. Nobody will know.
It's a bit much. I'm going home.
It's really, really tough. And I know a couple of parents that they speak openly about the cost of things to their children, which I get. I like that people have an understanding, children have an understanding for money, but it is very easy. And I do see some parents put a little bit of a guilt trip on their kid.
Yeah.
I'll see it at swimming. When you see the parents shouting at the kid at the swimming baths, and they're saying, "Do you know how much these classes cost? Get in the damn pool!" and they're trying to push them in and stuff like that, and they're just screaming their head off, and you're like, "That's that." No one I think is ever going to write the perfect parenting book, but I just feel like that's not the way to do it. But you still enjoyed it. You went by yourself.
Yeah.
You obviously had some support, the financial aspects.
Yeah, I did.
Do you feel if they could have been there, they would have been there, or?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that respect, you were there by yourself, but still with the support of your family, and you were going to get it done.
Yeah,
you were still
and
do it.
I felt okay with that. Yeah,
Okay.
That was fine. That was an accomplishment for me, I think.
Now, my sister danced for many, many years, and one of the things that became really conscious for me was the amount of focus that is put on the physical side of it. So yes, it's very tough, it's very enduring and stuff like that, but certainly when you're speaking about ballet, I think that you can develop it's very body conscious.
Yes.
And I know you've had some experiences with that, and it started around that age, didn't it?
It did, yeah. That wasn't solely to do with dancing. Obviously, the dancing didn't help.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's so bad nowadays, but there's always that pressure there, especially with ballet, if you have to look a certain way and be a certain physique.
Yeah.
But growing up, we did have a lot of issues and a lot of things that we couldn't control. And I did feel quite alone a lot.
Okay.
and with how school was as well, with some of the bullying, and I just kind of turned to something very toxic. I know that now, but something toxic that I could essentially control.
What was
felt
that?
like the only thing I could control, and that was it was an eating disorder.
Okay.
It was mainly bulimia, which I haven't really spoken about this properly before.
Okay. Thank you for sharing it.
No, that's what I'm here for. So that was kind of my way of regaining control of my life. And there was a lot of problems. I won't go into them, but it wasn't just, the pressure from the dancing or the bullying. There's a lot of other things behind closed doors.
Did you ever share the bullying with your parents, the fact you were being bullied?
Yeah. I mean, once it got to secondary school, I felt like I could kind of get over it, get past it, just keep my head down. It was worse when I was a lot younger because I didn't understand it, and they were well aware, but there was just not a lot that they could have done, really.
So do you think through some of the things you've said, was this a way of taking it out on yourself, or?
Yeah, I think it was partly gaining control, and I think the other part was a bit of punishment in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of always feeling like I've said before, the person who was always different, who didn't fit in, who couldn't quite get there, couldn't quite succeed.
Yeah.
And I did spend a lot of time on my own. I was very introverted, and I that's what I resorted to.
Now, what you're speaking about here, it's not, and again, I don't want to generalise it, but it's not uncommon, because a lot of people that may be struggling with a similar thing at a similar age may feel, some people may feel ashamed of it. Some people may feel embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
And they may not, it's taken you up until now to be able to share it. But it's a lot more common than people think. I mean, I had a quick look after our last conversation. The Priory does a lot of support for people that struggle with eating disorders and stuff like that, and a variety of different addictions and disorders. Saying 3.4 million people in the UK suffer with an eating disorder, and only 25% of them are male. So that means 3/4 of that are females.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible. 40% of which suffer from bulimia.
Yeah.
So that eating disorder and that aspect of control isn't just placing yourself into an enormous calorie deficit to achieve this body dysmorphia that you don't feel you're quite there yet, but also it's nearly half the people are actively taking part in bulimia as well.
Yeah.
So I love what you say about taking control, because things like your hair colour, your family situation, the actions of other people, you couldn't control any of that.
No.
But this is the one thing where you thought, this is mine now.
This is my thing.
I'm in 100% control of this. So you were saying that you drove yourself right down to quite a low intake of food for quite a while. Yeah.
I mean, through my teenage years, it was mainly the bulimia side. And there was also, during that time as well, I think a lot of the body image stuff that was going around, it was more towards, the thigh gap. That was a big trend, I remember growing up. And it was people like Victoria Beckham who were all over the magazines. It was all the skinny sort of style.
When people say, for anybody that doesn't know what the thigh gap is, we're talking about when a woman's legs get so thin. I mean, you probably describe it better than me. What is that for people that aren't sure when they say about the thigh gap?
It's when your legs are firmly together and there is a gap between your thighs. Your thighs do not meet because your legs are that
because
skinny.
the legs are that thin, no matter how, it's
which
always
is crazy for a woman, because your hips are meant to be big hips. We're meant to be quite bottom heavy.
And primitively, that's what attracts men. It's not all about attracting men or women or anything like that, but that hourglass figure, just as a simple silhouette, sort of expresses that a woman is full-bodied and they're able to produce children, which is what sort of all of it. We're all here to perpetuate the species. We need to keep it going. So that's nature. That's natural. That's nature. But when people are trying to force themselves that low, and again, they're aspiring to people that have popularized that, it can be very, very difficult if physiologically you're not predisposed to that, because a lot of girls, no matter what they did to themselves, perhaps were never going to achieve that.
Yes.
But at that moment in time, that's what you were going for.
Yes, So it was all of that together. And then when I went to university, that's when I went into a crazy calorie deficit. And looking back now, I don't even know how I did it. I really don't. I restricted myself to 500 calories a day.
Yeah.
Wow,
And
500.
So you'd moved out of home into uni.
Yeah.
And I suppose you were in that, this is your first real freedom.
Yeah.
So you could take even more control over it.
Yeah.
How hard was it to hide it when you were at home?
It was really hard. My parents did find out.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you like skipping meals, or did you? Because I rarely see some of my kids, but I know they eat because the wrappers and stuff are everywhere and the pots are in the dishwasher and all that sort of stuff. But I bet they could go 2 days without eating, and perhaps I wouldn't know. We try and eat together once a day, but with shifts and projects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how did it come to the surface before you moved to uni? What was the telltale sign?
My mum heard me, I believe. I think she heard me, and she told my dad, and then my dad was really watching me every time that I went to visit, and I think he just picked up on a few things, and after a while I think they put 2 and 3 together. And
so how did they tackle it with yourself? Did they just come speak to you straight away, or was it more was they blunt? Were they blunt with it?
My dad was pretty... It was my dad mainly who spoke to me. My dad's always been like the level-headed, practical guy.
Yeah.
He tried to understand why, and I was just that crazy teenager, like, leave me alone, Dad.
Oh no. I was going to say, part of you perhaps was embarrassed, but were you more angry by the sound of it?
Yeah, I was really angry. It was like someone had entered my world.
Your little thing. And they were trying to take control over the one thing that you had.
Take
and
that.
Let me have that as well.
Yeah. He was going to move me to where he lives, and I was going to move schools.
To watch you, to keep an eye on you.
Yeah, and I was like, no, that can't happen. And
well, that'd be dad taking control of his daughter, wanting to protect you.
Yeah, wanted to protect me. Yeah,
really difficult for both your dad and your mum though, because again, in a separated family like that, it's perhaps easier, and you'll know better than any of us. Is it easier to avoid that because you need to rely on them being able to communicate well?
Yeah.
And if they are or aren't communicating well, dad's got one idea, mum's got one idea.
Yeah.
And you're in the middle doing whatever the bloody hell you like, and just play them off against each other and try and maintain control. Mm-hmm. And then you were set free to uni. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. I think what saved me from moving to my dad's was the fact that I was doing my GCSEs and then had plans to do my A-levels, so it just wasn't.
And you were actually doing well there as well. You spoke before.
I
your
was
studies,
well.
you were really good at.
I was really good at.
That's kind of like the thing you can hang your hat on and go,
like, I can't
performing.
leave. And then I went to university, and I was eating 500 calories a day.
Which brings me on to an interesting question. So you say your mum and dad, they found out.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people listening to this. They may have a friend or family member that they may believe have got an eating disorder.
Yeah.
But they're a little bit too nervous on how to approach that person.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you give to that person who thinks their friend or family member may have an eating disorder?
Yeah.
How can they tackle it? Because it's a very sensitive subject.
It is really sensitive. I think that person has to realise that they're probably not going to get the response that they want straight away, because you are entering into someone's secret world.
Yeah.
Like you said before, that's the thing that they control, that's the thing that they protect.
And I suppose the first thing is to deny it, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you get asked, it's possibly to deny it.
I think you've got to give them space. You've got to talk about it. You've got to try and understand it if you can. But you've also got to give them space as well, because the more my dad and my mum got on my back, the more I was going to do it.
Yeah.
Especially if they're a teenager, that they're going to rebel. That's what teenagers do.
What would you have said to you if you met you now, all those time ago, or if it was like your nephew or your niece, let's say if you have one, and you saw that and you thought, let Auntie Rose, or let me go and have a word with one of your best friends' kid, and you're like, I've been there. Let me, next time I'm around there, I'll just find a reason to be with them in the kitchen, and I'm going to say, what is the next thing? What would you say to you? Or is there nothing to say? I don't know.
Or let's fast forward about 20, 30 years. You could have a 15-year-old daughter yourself.
Yeah.
What would you say to her?
I think I would say to them, is this what you want to be in your 30s, in your 20s? Do you want to spend the whole of your 20s hiding away behind this toxic secret you've got?
Yeah.
it's something that stops you from socializing with people. You know, you have a fear of going to restaurants, you have a fear of going to a bar because you'll drink alcohol or whatever. It does completely take over your life. So I'd say to that teenage Rose or that teenage friend or nephew, whoever it is this how you want your 20s to look? Because if I'd have carried on the way that I had, I wouldn't have done the most amazing, incredible things that I have done in my 20s. I'm only 24, but you know.
What were you trying to achieve? Because you were overweight. You know, was it obviously you said about your control. There's lots of ways for us to say control. Were you trying to achieve a weight loss? Because you spoke about obviously that physical image that you would some people aspired to.
Yeah.
Was that was your goal, or?
Yeah, it all accumulates into one thing, you know, the control side of it and the weight side of it as well. And there was an element at school where I'd look at my friends who were maybe a bit more developed than me, and I'd just think, God, I look awful, or, you know, I really started to notice myself and not like certain things about myself. And genetically I've always been quite bottom heavy. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
But I hated that because, like I said before, what I was seeing in magazines and celebrities and the trends that were going on, it was all about skinny this and skinny legs.
Yeah, that runway model image was just everywhere, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody had. It was kind of like a punchline that people said, "Oh yeah, big is beautiful" and stuff like that. But they weren't. Their actions didn't follow their words. People weren't actively supporting that in magazines and things like that.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, imagine the complete turnaround, because big and strong is beautiful, is sexy now.
Yeah.
You know, it's so much, you hope, a safer environment now, but I know people still struggle with it, which is horrific in this day and age that people still struggle with it.
Definitely. And I think when I was at uni as well, I think by that stage I felt like what I'd done and what had happened in my past defined me. It was I felt like it was part of who I am, and I was protective of that.
Yeah.
Like this, you know, things happened to me and that's what makes me who I am now, that defines me. But I think by doing that, I just wasn't letting go of past pain. I was just getting by the same as I was before, but in a different environment.
So when did things begin to change in terms of your confidence? Because a lot of this was rooted around your self-confidence.
Yeah, it was.
But I know you said, you know, it has been up and down. It has been up and down a few times, and we'll go into that. But this was the first time in that uni where things started to climb a little bit.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it did. That was into my second year of university, and that was, you know, I was living with friends who were a lot older than me. I think mixing with people who are different to you makes you realise that what's different about you is actually is a really good thing.
Absolutely.
Because when you're at school, you're in such a bubble, and you're kind of like sheep. You just go along with what everyone else is doing. But when you get to university and you start living with people from all over the UK, guys, girls, you know, whoever, you start to realise that you are all different, and that's a good thing. And I started to realise, well, I'm the one who, I speak Spanish and I dance and I do this, and I just started to own it. Like, I'm that person.
And that makes your own perfect jigsaw, which is not the same as anybody else's jigsaw. Somebody told me a long time ago, because I had this similar approach, that your mess is your message. Somebody said to me, and I thought that was fantastic, because everything from that day backwards you saw as a mess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, God, I don't want to talk about that, I don't want to talk about that. Or I randomly did this thing, and then I did a bit of dancing, and I did a bit of Spanish and this, that and the other.
Yeah.
But then that all sort of comes together as you acknowledge it and appreciate it and go, wow, look at all these tools, look at all these values, qualities, you know, beautiful imperfections that I've managed to accumulate.
Yeah.
And people begin to draw towards you because of those, not in spite
because
of them.
Those differences. Yeah. And that was a big realization for me. And then also I didn't apply. I auditioned to be in the advanced dance team, and I got in. And suddenly I was dancing 4 or 5 times a week. I was with all these beautiful women who were all different shapes and sizes. They would all go out for Chinese after, or have a few drinks or whatever. But, you know, they were fit, strong
And
women.
did you join them for those?
Was that
I
a big
didn't
confidence
a lot.
boost for yourself when you got into that?
Yeah, it was massive. I was so excited, and I just felt like I was a part of something then. Yeah. But then again, just appreciating that everyone was so different, and yet we all came together with a similar, you know, hobby, a similar passion, and you know, we owned it. It was our thing. It was exciting.
Now, I would imagine, did that generate a big new circle of friends for you as well?
Yeah. So I still didn't, you know, go to a lot of the social events, and looking back, I do regret that. I wish that I'd have done that, knowing what I know now and who I am now. But I just wasn't quite there. It took a long time.
Absolutely.
But that was definitely a catalyst to make me think, you know,
habits that you embed when you're young lasts a lot longer, because they're deeper down in the psychological levels.
Yeah.
When anybody develops a habit or a phobia or a fear or anything like that, you can often, if you're good enough to be able to ask the right questions and follow it back into a moment in their childhood, because we're in such early development, and B, our mind is so shapeable, it's so tangible. The impacts on it last a lot longer. Now we're all getting a bit older. You can take a few hits.
Yeah.
And you can still maintain some structure. You know, the world is a very challenging place to be in, with anxiety and worries and things like that. But when you're that young and you haven't gained the confidence that you spoke about there, and the self-awareness and the appreciation for yourself, any of those things leave a really, really deep cut or a deep mark. You know, they really sort of brand themselves on you. And it can take years. I know people in their 50s and 60s who are still troubled and challenged by the habits they developed when they were a child, and in their own unique and destructive way, they are self-harming in a very subtle way. People hear self-harming, they think cutting yourself, wasn't that? There's lots of ways to self-harm and self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And at this moment, you were still partaking, obviously not that sort of self-harm, but you were still participating in that side of control, and it was stopping you socialising still. Yeah,
it was still a big part of my life. Yeah. But at this stage, it was, you know, I was recognising that, whereas before it was always going to be a part of my life. It was that thing that defined me. And then this came, and I thought, no, it doesn't define me. There is a problem here. Yeah. And it's not going to be a quick fix, but something needs to change.
So when you, so when you got to university, is this something that you still kept very much to yourself, or your new circle of friends, were they aware of what was going on around you? Or?
I had one very good friend who knew about it. And she'd been through similar things as well.
So did she tell you, or did you tell her, or did she sort of guess something might not have been quite right?
I can't really remember. I think, me and her got really, really close very quickly. And it was either she told me about herself, and that made me tell her about me, or vice versa.
That's often a big thing.
Yeah, so she gave you the confidence to open up.
Yes. Yeah.
People forget, and that's exactly what's fantastic about what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Because when we go back to that message thing, when people open up, they are always astonished when I speak to people that have finally opened up about something they've struggled with for a long time. They then realise it's a handle, it's an olive branch, it's something else for somebody to go, oh my God, you too. They were never going to say anything. They were never going to say anything because they thought they were alone. They thought they were a freak.
Yeah.
We had it with miscarriage. When we had a miscarriage, I think it's 1 in 3 pregnancies end in miscarriage. And if you ever experience one, you feel ashamed. Certainly my wife, I could not console her. She felt like she was a failed mother, like her body was never going to support a child again. And, but until you start opening up to close friends and they go, yeah, we experienced a miscarriage. And you think, oh my God, how common is this? And we've spoken again. And just because something's common doesn't make it average or easy or, oh, don't be silly. It's everybody has that. It's very unique for everybody. And the same with yours. It was very, very unique. Yeah. But it's a reassurance, as you said with your friend, to know that you're not alone. Yes. And that you have the power to change this.
Yes, definitely.
Which is huge.
It was a big turn.
Yeah, and like anything, there's drugs as well. There's like with an eating disorder, without asking for help, it's always going to get a lot worse, isn't it? No one can tackle these things on their own, and the physical and emotional damage, it's heartbreaking to witness.
Absolutely.
And anything, any type of addiction, eating disorder, or what we said about miscarriage, anything that anyone keeps to themselves, it will eventually destroy that person.
You rot from the inside.
Yeah, I mean, the sooner somebody reaches out, your whole world's going to get a lot better, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I think it's just about understanding how to tackle that issue when you're speaking to somebody.
Now, not everybody at that age, these new people that come into our world, some come in for the good, some come in for the bad. But as does happen sometimes at university, we meet lots of lovely, lovely people.
Yeah.
And you began one of your sort of first more serious relationships, which are always wonderfully rapturous, incredible, exciting things. But because they're so powerful, they can have a good power and a bad power over us.
Yeah.
And you sort of experienced both with this.
Yes.
How did that sort of change the dynamics for you?
Well, after second year, I went to live in Spain, and that everything was magical. And
that was a big decision. How did that decision come about?
So that was part of my degree, because I was studying Spanish at university. So I had a year in Spain, an optional year in Spain. And obviously I'm going to go and live in Spain. So I got a job over there teaching English, and I just...
And am I right in saying you did this on your own, didn't you? No one went with you?
My dad took me out there. Yeah. He helped me find a flat for the first couple of days, and then he left. He got on the train to Madrid and waved goodbye, and I cried, and that was it.
So you're teaching out there, discovering, because teaching's really tough in itself. You've got to have that confidence, living the magical life out in the beautiful sun. I'm sure for people that live there every day don't appreciate it, but for you it was everything.
Awesome. Yeah, and the big Spanish mamas, they just used to speak to me so direct, like, eat. Yeah.
They do, don't they?
Yeah, they
They're
do.
a very, very loving, physical, touchy-feely kiss, feed. Do you know what I mean? Their love is through their family and their food.
Eat. And then they saw that I was dyeing my hair blonde, and they were like, "What are you doing? You have red hair. It's amazing. Stop dyeing your hair." And I did, and everything was amazing. I felt like I was me. I felt like I could take over the world. And I came back for my final year of uni, and I got into this relationship.
How high was your confidence when you came back, though?
Super high.
Yeah. So this was you on like cloud nine, feeling amazing.
Yeah,
nothing
just
could be
traveling.
They overwhelm you with love, don't they?
Yeah.
When you're in that culture. I love when you see them with their children, and they can be like a 5-6-year-old girl, and they're going, "Oh yeah, you're gorgeous, you're sexy, gorgeous," and the kids are dancing, and the mums and dads dance together, and it's overwhelming love.
Yeah, overwhelming.
And like you were saying, they were noticing your natural elements of you that perhaps you've been ashamed of, and they were seeing the beauty that was in it, and helping you see it,
building me up. Yeah.
So that was like your rebuild.
Yeah, and I came back and I was like, wow, I'm a brand new person and I can take on anything. And it was my final year, and everyone came back, so like different people, full of independence, grown up. And I put absolutely everything into my final year of uni. But I did get into a relationship, my first proper relationship, I'd say.
Okay.
It was quite intense.
As they all are when we're young.
Yeah, they all are. It was
it's
very,
everything
very...
or nothing, isn't it? It's so intense.
It was...
Don't look at me like that.
But it is. It's so intense, isn't it?
It was super intense. And when I left uni, there was a bit of an ultimatum of, if you go back home, we're not staying together. So I moved in with him and his family. And
now that is tough. Yeah. When you're in with the family.
Yeah, and I couldn't drive either, so I was a bit stuck. Yeah, and I got my first post-uni job, which was really depressing because everyone leaves uni thinking that they're going to land their perfect job.
Yeah,
and
I'm going to go and take over the world.
Yeah. My boss was awful, and everything just came tumbling down
the
around
bubble burst.
me. Yeah, so I had no dance. I could never get to the gym, nothing. It was just everything had fallen.
So what was that job?
I worked at a language school, not teaching English, but I was a bit of a admins person. It sounded great on paper, but the managing director was awful.
Okay.
Just an awful person.
Yeah, and especially coming from a culture where you'd already done a lot of teaching.
Yeah.
So you knew you were competent.
Yeah.
And you knew how much you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And you'd come back with all this enthusiasm.
Yeah.
To be placed in that. And what you said about the driving thing, I've got friends, in their 30s and their 40s who still can't drive.
Yeah.
And I think to them, you're missing so much. And they're like, but I can get everywhere public transport. I'm like, but you always have an element of reliance on somebody else, whether it's public transport or somebody else. And especially for people that find themselves in the position that you did, you constantly feel like you owe something to this person, or can you just, and you feel like you're constantly asking. You've got no independence.
Definitely.
And you only exist because they're letting you exist.
And that's
I provide
word,
everything
though,
for you.
That's the word. When you get that ticket, that driving license, it gives you independence.
Independence.
Yeah, it
does
massively.
You can do anything. You can go anywhere.
I think that's what the shock was for me, because I've been in a place where I was doing amazing at my studies. I'd just been and lived in a different country for a year.
Yeah.
I'd done all these amazing things. I had my dancing, I had the gym, everything. And then suddenly it was all gone. And I felt completely reliant on someone else, that I was completely dependent on them. And I'd never been like that.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
And a lot of people can be like that. You know, there's a lot of married people who there's somebody in the relationship will have more income than the other.
Yeah.
But it's a very, very tough balance. It's a very, very tough balance.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot for them to still be equal in the relationship.
Exactly.
And a lot of relationships aren't like that.
Yeah.
And they let it go on forever. But you noticed that early on.
I did, yeah. It was off and on for a while. And then I think we just realised that we were very different. We're just very different people in what we wanted and how we wanted the relationship to be. But by that point, I'd got myself really, really ill. Really super ill.
So do you think that is maybe because when you say your gym, your dance, your travels, that was like therapy for you, wasn't it? That was your feel good.
Yeah.
And now that's all gone. Did you then feel, shit, I'm slipping into my old ways, or? Yeah,
a bit. It was like, God, I need to regain control again. And I didn't fully go back to my old ways, but I was definitely, being very strict with myself and punishing myself. And aside from that, it was just the stress. The stress literally made me lose so much weight. Yeah. If you'd seen a photo of me back then, I just looked gaunt because everything just dropped off me. And I suffered with really bad IBS, which came from all the anxiety. And it was about a good year of living there and just feeling horrible all the time, angry, stressed. So it did come to a point where I thought, enough is enough. I need to get out of here.
Where were your parents at this time? Did you communicate with them much, or your university friends, or your siblings, or was any of them aware of this?
Yeah, they were aware of it. They weren't happy about it. But again, it was quite a conflicting situation. I was living there, had my job there. Yeah. So it wasn't a very easy decision to just go, okay, right, I'm leaving.
No, it's never easy. I mean, many people find themselves in that type of relationship, and it's hard to do something about it. But when was that moment for you where it was like, right, I've got to sort myself out here. This isn't right.
I think when I realised how badly it had affected my health, I think I just had a moment where I took a really hard look at myself and thought, this isn't you, and this is not what you want. Yeah. And for a long time, I knew that, and then I started to think, well, why am I still here then? Something needs to happen. I think he said one thing that kind of sent me off, and it was just like, no, I'm going. That's it.
People think it's always, not always, but people think it's a lot of time it's too late to have done anything about it. Yeah. And it doesn't matter the length of time. If you've been in a relationship for 2 years, some people go, oh, but I've been with this person for 2 years. I can't go now because everything will be gone. But then at the same pace, some people have been together for 10 years. Yeah. And if they look back and go, I wish we'd have separated when we were only together for 2 years, when they're first acknowledging it. Yeah. It's all relative for people.
It is,
and there's something called an investment bias, effectively, where you've put all this time into something, so you're like, oh, I need to make it work. Yeah. Because I've put so much into it already. Gamblers have it. When they've put £10,000 into a blackjack hand or something like that, the best thing to do is leave right now. Yeah. But they keep putting more money in, same relationship, they keep putting more time in because they're like, I want to get it back. And you also feel like, if I leave now, because you were living with this person, your whole world was with them, and you shared everything with them, you sort of detached from your old life. So if you left them, which you did, which was wonderful, but it almost feels like that year doesn't exist anymore because I told everything to that person. Yeah. They were everything. And then when you look back in another year's time and you go, hey, do you remember when and that person's not there anymore. So that whole year, same for some people who've been together for 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, they go, I shared every moment with them, my fears, my anxieties, my frustrations, my wins, my successes. The day I had a good day, the day I had a bad day. I shared everything with them. Yeah. And if they're no longer here, did it even matter?
Yeah.
But you recognised it early enough.
I think
and
so.
then you moved back again. Where did you go from there? And
I got a job in Derby, which was actually using my language and a bit more of a, okay, it's not the ideal job, but it's
more,
a good
more
job.
towards your dream job compared to the last one,
Yeah. And I was going back to live with my mum, and my mum was just in a little cottage on a range, super chilled. My friends were there. My friends from school were there, and I was making new friends at work, and I finished my driving lessons.
So you started to relax and become yourself again?
Finished your driving lessons?
Yeah, finished my driving lessons, passed my test, and I was like, okay, it's getting back to where it needs to be now.
Fair enough. I love what you said about going for something even though it wasn't the perfect thing. Yeah. I know a lot of people that are stuck in jobs and things like that they don't enjoy.
Yeah.
And they're waiting for perfection to arrive. They're waiting for something to knock on the door.
You can't do that.
Perfect job doesn't exist. Because equally, when you go into the thing you thought was the perfect job, there'll be something about it that you might not like. Yeah. And this isn't pessimism. This is just saying you need to at least invest your time and a bit of faith. You know, universe is all about faith for me. You've got to just go out there and do the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And then hope and pray that things will turn out for the best if you continue to exhibit the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
So you made that change. You had faith in yourself. You passed your driving test.
Yeah.
You'd started to become, closer with some of your old friends.
Yeah.
And you started to go to the gym again. Now, me and Rich are both obviously massive fitness gym junkies, and
me more than Pete, as you can see.
That's why we're on audio, folks. Okay. But for me, it's always been a mental crutch.
Yeah.
I've always relied on it. As much as it helps me physically stay in shape, I've always needed it for like a balance. It really helps me stay there. So you'd had your dancing. Was this the first time you'd gone to the gym? Because you'd not really spoken about the gym before this.
Well, I did a little bit at uni, more so in my final year, and it was more really just to help the dancing side of it. Mm-hmm. They just encourage that we go to the gym.
They're super strong.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You see some of the core strength of some dancers. It's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a lot of cardio and then a bit of strength and conditioning and that sort of thing. But it wasn't anything.
But it was all based around being better at dancing.
Yeah. It wasn't very structured. It was just kind of like keep yourself fit.
So this is the first time you went back just for you?
Yes.
So what did you want to do when you got there? Because a lot of people go to the gym for different reasons.
Yeah,
what was yours?
This again, it was again a control thing. It was just like I need to regain control of my life now, and I don't have dancing anymore. I need something. I need an outlet. I like to look good. I like to keep myself in shape and keep fit. So I thought, okay, go to the gym. But no pressure, just go and enjoy it. And that's what it was. It was a therapeutic thing. It was an outlet. It was, okay, I've just had this horrible breakup and like wasted a year of my life. But
you had a lot of growth during that period of time, though.
Yeah,
sometimes you've got to go to the lows to appreciate the highs.
Exactly.
I always say to people, there's no light without darkness. So you've got to experience a little bit of that before you can appreciate the good things.
Yeah, it was a life lesson.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one big learning experience, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the whole
exactly.
thing. I love what you said about the control side of it as well, because that's a big thing. I'm a control freak, I think everybody is to a certain extent. They'll have a thing in their life. Some will be eating, some will be fitness, some will be their work, some will be their children that they can control every part of.
Yeah.
I love when I go to my gym, 100 kilos is always going to be 100 kilos.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want there. There's nobody to dictate to me.
Yeah.
If I want to change this part of my body, I can do it. Yeah. If I want to push myself in that area, I can do it.
Yeah.
And it's all you. It's different to a team sport or a dancing or anything like that, where there will be an aspect of dictation, that someone is dictating your what you should be doing and how you should be doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas this was perfect freedom.
Yeah, it was just right, go there straight after work, bang out a session and then go home. It was all good. But I got to a point where I was going 5-6 times a week because I loved it.
Quick.
Yeah. It became such a habit, such a part of my life. And then I thought, God, if I'm investing so much time into it, then I need to be looking at what I'm doing and having more structure. And then I started wanting to learn things and became really engrossed in it.
And the fitness and nutrition and all that side of stuff, the beauty of it is you can never stop learning.
Exactly.
Some people go and they've not really got a structure to it and they wonder why they don't get a result.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what the destination is, and the destination can change. You know, it's a little bit like when you say to people, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they go, oh, I don't know. Just pick something now. It doesn't matter if that changes in a year. But at least gives you an intentional direction in which to walk in. If somebody comes to the gym and goes, I want to be really big and strong. And you go, okay, let's walk towards that. And then as they put a bit of size on, maybe they go, you know, I actually really enjoy gymnastics, or I really enjoy sprinting. And then you adapt from there. But a lot of people just go and aimlessly, not sure what they're doing, don't get the results, feel a little bit pessimistic and negative about it, start to envy and feel a bit frustrated about other people that are making progress. But they equally have a lot of pride and they don't want to learn. But you'd been learning for years and you knew how good you were at it, because school you were just acing it. So you started to then have that curiosity to get better in the gym. How did you go about that?
Well, this was the sort of time when a lot of fitness influencers started coming around on Instagram and places like that. So I was kind of looking at what they were doing. I was looking at their body shape and thinking, God, they're so bottom heavy. I'm bottom heavy. Like, this is actually
and then we're being celebrated for it.
Yeah, they're being celebrated for it. It's all about being strong. And I thought, that's it. That's what I want to be. I want to be strong. So I was kind of following a few people's workouts online. There was a few that I really liked. I do a lot of their workouts, but it got to a point where I completely plateaued and I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. You know, I'm following these people, I'm doing their workouts, but I don't actually know why I'm doing it. So I changed gym and I was doing a few different challenges, Gymshark challenges and things like that. And then again, I thought, I still don't know what I'm doing. You know, it reached a point where my body had transformed and developed, but I knew that my nutrition still wasn't there. I knew
that's the massive bit. That is the massive bit.
It is,
Reps and sets and stuff haven't changed. But when Arnie and people were doing them 40, 50 years ago, they haven't changed. Every week you'll see a new Blaster 7000 and a new. You don't need it. It doesn't, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just a fad. It's
abs are made in the kitchen.
Abs are made in the kitchen, brother.
It's a very true saying.
The problem is it's not sexy. It's not interesting, the food side of it.
No,
it doesn't feel exciting to people. They go, it doesn't matter because I'm going to go and work out later. And you're like,
I've done a workout so I can eat a piece of cake.
Honestly, the amount of calories you burn in a workout, it's like 10-15% of your daily intake. Everything else comes from the nutritional aspect of it.
But it can be the food bit can be sexy.
You just
need to
if you educate yourself about it. And people think eating healthy is boring.
When you're first starting it is, isn't it? It's just you just think piece of salmon, bit of rice. It's just plain and bland. You do need to get good in the kitchen as well, don't you?
The problem is as well though, your mind is trained on sugar at that point. Most things that most people are engaging in life is laden with sugar, from the foods to the drinks. And the body responds on that as its energy source. To switch your body's energy source, whether you're doing it, anything with proteins diet, carb diet, keto diet, anything like that, it's very, very difficult to train your body to switch and burn more of something else when you've trained it on such a sporadic, up and down, sugar-induced diet. It's very, very difficult for people to change. But you've clearly had the discipline to do that. So how did that start to play itself out?
Well, like I said, with the nutritional side, I just had no idea what I was doing with it. And especially because of how bad I've been with my relationship with food in the past, I thought, I don't know what's enough for me. I don't know what's too much. I don't know what's too little.
So was that a scary part of your training now? So now you need to seriously look at your nutrition, because your training, was that like a scary thought? Or?
It was a point where I was like, okay, I know I'm committed to the gym. I'm consistent. I'm determined. I kind of know what I'm doing. I'm confident enough. But the nutritional side, it was really scary, because I just thought, I don't know what I'm getting myself into here. And the idea of counting calories or counting macros, it filled me with fear, because I thought, am I going to go back to old obsessive ways? And so I just ignored it for a while, and then I thought, no, I can't ignore this anymore. I need to do something. And there was a woman that I was following, a fitness influencer on Instagram, Lucy Davis, and she was promoting her coaching school. And I've been following her and her partner Ben for a while, and I really loved the sort of thing that they did. And Lucy is just so strong and like sexy. She is. and she knows what she's doing, and I really invested in them as people.
Yeah.
And I was umming and ahhing for weeks, like, should I join, should I not? You know, £40 a month. Ugh. And then I just thought, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. Just gonna do it, see how it goes, and that has changed everything.
Because if you're
really
lucky enough to find a coach that really empowers you with knowledge,
yeah,
versus somebody that says, just do this, just do that, because you've done that, you'd been to people that said, just do this, follow me, do that, and you're like, I want to know why though.
Yeah.
Why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Because whenever I work with people, I always say to them, look, I only want to work with you for a limited period of time.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes them back because they're like, well, why? Do you not like me? I'm like, no. I want to teach you something.
Yeah.
So that you can then go on holiday, you can go wherever you want, you can go to any gym and anywhere, and you know what to do.
Yeah.
You don't need to ask anybody.
Yeah.
You don't need to call me or message me or anything like that.
No.
Not that I don't want to hear from you, but you should learn something. I know so many things, like you said before, about the challenges you've done in the past, where it was just do this, do that, and you've not learnt anything.
No.
You know, we're all about, Rich, exactly, obviously, the instructing side of the martial arts is about empowering somebody with knowledge.
Yeah.
And you were finally tapping into that golden vein of knowledge. And it's massive when you get somebody that can teach you that.
It's that saying, isn't it? Knowledge is power. But when someone gives you that and you start to engross something and learn about it, you do begin to start feeling a lot more confident and
absolutely, because you know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're not just aimlessly doing it. You know the why behind it.
Exactly.
It also gives you a purpose as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I wish I'd have realised that sooner, but I did the Gymshark 66 challenge at the start of the year, and since then I thought, why was it 66 days? I don't know, because the whole idea of the challenge was 66 days to form a new habit, and I did it, and then I was like, well, what have I actually done? I don't know what was the whole thing behind that. And then I've just done a challenge with this school, my coach school. Yeah. And I feel like in that 8 weeks, I completely transformed my body, my the mental side of things.
Mental side is huge. Huge.
And I've learned so much as well.
Which you've now started helping other people with.
Yes.
You know, we've seen your Instagram and stuff like that start to grow, and you've started to adapt what you do, because influencers are fantastic and they really empower and help a lot of people, but there's a very difference between people I see that just do the photo side and the quote side of it, whereas I've started to see a lot of what you're doing is really the teaching side of it, breaking down some workouts, how people do it, why they should do it, what difference you found in your body, and if somebody's looking for a similar one, how they can do it.
Yeah.
Does that come at all from your teaching background? Because you've learned something and you're not going, oh, I'm going to keep this to myself. Because Rich says knowledge is power, and he's absolutely right. But some people use that in a bad way.
Yeah.
You get some trainers and coaches that go out there, they just want to tell you, they don't want to show you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do this. Why? It doesn't matter. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
You've immediately learned something and turned around and gone, I'm going to help other people with this.
Yeah.
That's incredible. A lot of people don't do that.
They don't. And it's, especially on the Instagram side, it's so saturated. Yeah. Everyone has a fitness journey account. And I mean, everyone is mental. But I have seen so many where it is just endless amount of selfies. And I just think, okay, call yourself a fitness, not necessarily a fitness influencer, but maybe that you like to wear gym clothes. Yeah. If you're not going to put anything out there to help people, then why are you doing it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you feel that's you gone full circle now as well? So all your let's say troubles along the way, and all your education and your empowerment, and now this is you now. Is this you now giving back?
I think so. Yeah, because it felt like it was a long time for me, and a lot of life lessons that led me there, and there's just been so many different phases of my life where I've learned something and then made another error, and I mean, that is how life is. But I wish I'd have had someone to say, okay, this is where you can find this information, this is how you can improve this, or whatever, just someone to kind of guide me.
So there'll be girls listening to this, and boys, to be fair, who will find themselves in that position now. And I imagine they're listening thinking, God, it's so rare, because actually what Rose is speaking about, I know a lot of people that just do the photos, and I love the way they look and everything like that, but I don't know any of the answers. How can people reach out to you? Because I will guarantee, and it's always what I find is when we put things on social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever like that, people may not, and it's interesting to see what your thoughts are on this, may not comment on things publicly. but they send you private messages.
Yes.
They don't feel confidence to scream out in the world where everybody can see that and go, that's amazing, how do I learn more?
Yeah.
But they sneak. It's a bit like if you finish doing a seminar and somebody comes afterwards and goes, excuse me, can you just tell me the thing that you were talking? Because I didn't want to raise my hand in front of everybody.
Yeah.
I see that like social media. People might not want to raise their hand.
It's definitely like that.
But if people want to connect with you, so they've heard this story and they've thought, oh my God, I can't believe, because I've seen Rosa's stuff, I never knew that about her.
Yeah. How
can they reach out to you? What's your Instagram handle, and are you open to helping people like that?
Yeah. So my handle is gingy_gym.
Love that.
Obviously. And yeah, feel free to private message me. I'm always there to help people. If it's, to do with anything that we've spoken about today or any other problems that I could help with or people can talk to me about, then I'm all ears.
The mindset side that you've spoken about so openly, I honestly think that is the most powerful side of it.
Yeah.
I've been coaching people for years, and when they say about sets and reps and all that sort of stuff, you know what, they can find all that on Google. I'll still help them with it, and I still give them programs and stuff like that, but that's not what they're really struggling with.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's not until you develop that element of trust and people can open up and go, it's this, it was that's the bit I'm struggling with. Because if they say I'm not sure what to do, just go on Google, you'll find it.
Yeah.
People are just rebranding it, they're just reinventing it.
Yeah.
Unless you can help get behind what is the anchor, what's that person holding on to in their past that's stopping them making the break. Because the information isn't necessarily stopping them, they can find that.
Yeah.
How can you help them unlock from that? And that's exactly what you've done for yourself.
Yeah.
So even though you say, the I know lots of people with lots of qualifications, but they can't connect with people. You've got that really unique story. Yeah. And being so open about it, I know there will be people that will hear that and go, this is a connection that I can really get something from.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's like all the gear and no idea, isn't it?
Mate, how many people? I know people that own gyms that have got no qualifications and they're in terrible shape.
What are you looking at me for?
Gyms are really popular. I'm just going to buy lots of kit. And I say to them, what are your members like? What are their goals? And they're like, I don't know, they just come and lift. I'm like, really? And you're comfortable with that? You don't want to know them. You're not interested in their story.
Yeah,
how are you really helping them?
This is why I went for an online coaching platform because, and this is, nothing against the PTs at my actual gym. There are some great people there, but there's so many PTs that don't actually physically go up and talk to you and find out anything about you or build up any sort of rapport or anything. And people invest in people.
They do. People buy from people. They do. It's always that.
And I saw Lucy and Ben on Instagram. I saw what they were about, and I loved what they were about. Yeah. And that's what I aspired to, and that's why I invested my time and my money into them, and it's benefited me massively. But there are plenty of PTs who I don't know. I think a lot of them think they've got the qualification and that's it. But
they don't get it. They just don't get. They think they need more information, and they procrastinate on information because they go, I'm going to wait till I get my level 3. I'm going to wait until I get my diploma in strength and conditioning. And you're like, what are you struggling with now? What are you struggling with now? You're struggling with rapport.
Yeah.
People don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care.
Yes.
If you actually care about them and you're going to build it specifically for them and you're going to go along the journey with them. Because I've written for programs for people in the past who have had other programs and they go, I started this program with whoever, Gymshark, C6 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks in, it said do this thing and I couldn't do the thing. Whereas when you've got that online coach, when you've got a great connection with somebody, and you feel comfortable talking to them, you can open up and say, I can't do this because I've got this injury or I've got this physical thing. Or especially with some ladies, it takes a lot for them to open up and go, actually I struggle with this or I struggle with this. Because there's lots of things that are unique to ladies that aren't necessarily unique to men. And it takes a lot for them to say why they struggle with something, whereas a lot of people will just go quiet and then not get the result from a program, not get the result from a coach. And that is the coach's fault. That is the coach's fault because they've not created an environment where they feel comfortable enough to share with somebody. That is the huge bit for me.
Yeah. And that's the thing with fitness as well, is that it's not just the physical side. Everything comes together. And that's something that I didn't realise until this year, really. That this year is the year where I've looked at my mindset and my daily habits and made really small changes that have made a really big difference.
Always the small things.
Yeah,
always.
It really is.
Marginal gains and just building them one on top of the other.
Yeah.
So coming out of lockdown now, this is going to be really, really powerful time for you. How have your goals changed coming out of this in terms of, So when people do go and have a look at your Instagram, as I know they will, what are you working towards physically for yourself, or in your mindset? Is there a habit you're trying to change, or a change in your body, or a goal with helping somebody? What's making you tick at the minute?
It's been really difficult in lockdown to know exactly what the right goal is, because of obviously not having the space to do it, not being in the gym and that sort of thing. But essentially the goal for me on the physical side is to just keep building muscle, to keep building strength. My upper body's finally catching up with my lower body. So I'm going to keep, going away at that. The overall goal, the end goal, is, I think now it's just gotten to a point where it's just be happy and enjoy what I'm doing, because I know that essentially the physical side of things is probably going to change. The mindset side of things, you're always kind of tackling with that when there's big changes in your life or whatever that throw things off. You've always got to battle with that. But so I think the long-term goal for me is just to be happy with what I'm doing, enjoy it, and if I can help other people to achieve that, then amazing. Being disciplined. A lot of people speak about motivation. I'm just not feeling motivated today, or I'm not motivated to work out, or this program isn't motivating me anymore. But it's not about motivation, because if it was, you wouldn't do anything half the time. I'm not motivated most of the time to do the chores in the house or do the food shopping or whatever. But I do it because you're disciplined. You do it, and that's the key thing. You've got to keep disciplined. You've got to be consistent. You just got to keep going with it. But the best thing that you can do is make sure that you're tracking everything that you do, because when you get to a point, 5-6 weeks into it, and you've not seen a massive change yourself, and you feel disheartened, when you look back on the very first photo, you probably will see a change.
Some people feel ashamed to take a photo, though, really early on. Then I say to my clients, you haven't got to share it with anybody. I'm not going to put it on social media. I'm going to put it anywhere. But when you do start making those changes, you'll kick yourself for not having taken the photos sooner.
I didn't.
And what gets measured gets done. Do you know what I mean? As soon as you start measuring it, it brings the mind, it puts the blinkers in, and you start being able to look at that focus and really being able to track it on a daily basis with the photos, with the measurements. Those sorts of things are the building blocks of success.
Yeah, definitely.
Rose, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for opening up about some of the things, because people hear these stories and it will inspire them to be able to share theirs, because deep down everybody's fighting a private battle that they feel may be so different from everybody else's that they're not willing to share it. But as soon as you start sharing it, as you have done today, it's that actual key that you've always been looking for to unlock in your own happiness, your own physical acknowledgement, giving yourself that self-love. And until you love yourself, nobody else can love you. So thank you for sharing that with us today.
No, you're more than welcome. Thank you for having me.
And we look forward to seeing you soon. Oh. Thanks for checking out the Firefighters Podcast this week. Make sure you check out the YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram pages, keeping yourself up to date with the latest podcast as it comes out. We'll see you guys soon.